That's awesome.
So it's a really exciting find, I think.
Yeah, really interesting historical context. Shows you that these types of seamount ecosystems are important over, I don't know, it takes a long time for that crust to form, right?
Yeah, it does.
So these types of environments are active feeding grounds for potentially millions of years, right?
Right, and from my limited knowledge, it seems that, so these come from beaked whales, and these beaked whales are thought to be really deep diving and interacting with the seafloor as a food source. But some of the species have never been observed in the wild and in living form, just evidence of their behavior, their feeding behavior.
Or yeah, with the scours.
Yeah, scouring of the seafloor as well as...
very deep.
Yeah, I remember last year we saw some very deep scours.
Yeah.
Where was that at, Jake?
I was off the coast of California. I forget.
Okay.
We saw it in a couple places. I believe.
Okay. Yeah, so someone was asking, we did the Next on Nautilus event today, and the final question was like, you know, kind of what would be a big surprise related to this dive? And this would not have been on my bingo card, but it is quite a surprise.
Yeah, I'd be curious after working with the group, I think it was last year, to know if there was evidence of Ossidax worms.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, right, so obviously we didn't see other whale bones in that spot, so something about the composition of the rostrum, as part of the beaked whale, isn't as amenable to degradation from things like Ossidax worms as the other parts of the whale skeleton.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which is interesting in its own right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we have another visual cue of something to look for while we're doing these dives.
This question was asked earlier, I think it was right in the middle of a sampling, but someone was curious how we power Hercules and Argus. Are they battery operated? I don't know if somebody on our ROV team wants to give us a sense of the power.
Here's an interesting math question. How many batteries would it take to power Herc? Double A's.
Double A's?
Yeah.
Okay.
For an hour.
For an hour.
Or are we doing like closest?
For an hour?
For 1 minute. For 1 minute.
1 minute.
How many?
Closest without going over?
Yeah.
Well, asking a lot of these batteries here, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. 1,000.
We'll try it on deck tomorrow.
Yeah. deck power.
With the lights on or off?
Double A deck power.
Yeah, are we doing anything, or is it just like powering up our sensors? Because
have you done this?
No
math?
hydraulics.
No, I wanna make a game out of it.
Okay.
Basically a large anchor.
Where can someone from home who wants to play this game find out how much power Herc uses?
I'll send you the instructions. Just send me an entry ticket with a $20 bill.
Right.
To P.O. Box.
Yeah, it's something we have to think about because it depends on what functions are being used and how much.
Well, I'm sure you could do the math, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to really
Well, I mean, it actually isn't that hard to figure out.
factor in all the current draw on the vehicle, and then.
Yeah. So what, like an average current draw for the vehicle? What is that?
Cannot tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in a screen over there.
Probably have a graph of it somewhere
Yeah.
Oh
over
yeah,
time. Yeah, that'd be curious.
little Ohm's law
I guess-
action.
Sorry? Yeah, I switched it up. Yeah, you can send him the high voltage cabinet if you
Here,
want to see the high
here,
voltage.
I think I can, I'm the video guy. I think I can do this. You can play along at home. If you look at that one. So that is what the two vehicles, it's actually not just Herc,
Yes.
right? That's both vehicles.
Yeah, so it's our high voltage cabinet there. You can see kind of what we're sending down in a way.
And is that in volts?
Yeah, so the top
Yeah.
is voltage, and then the bottom, the next three down are the different phases.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all amps, so 39, 41, 41. And then
You
the
also have
last,
to factor in there's like a big voltage drop between the top side and the
Yeah.
bottom.
Assuming
cable.
perfect conductivity.
Zero resistance. Okay.
0.2 resistance.
Well, yes, currently 0.2 resistance.
Leakage, that's a bit, yeah.
I don't even know how many volts a AA battery has.
1.5.
So you'd need
1.5,
volts.
okay.
Oh my gosh,
1.5.
good luck.
All right. It's like, what,
That's a lot of
300 and
batteries.
something?
No,
And this
no,
is kind
we're
of like the
not.
game, how many Empire State Buildings, down into the ocean did we go today?
Oh, right.
And it's kind of a ridiculous concept, but, people at home, I don't know, if I was a kid, I don't
Right,
know,
if
I
you
don't know what
wanted to
600,
drive-
600 or 500 volts is, but I know what a battery is.
Yeah.
And
So if you wanted to try it at home, you could take about 320 AA batteries,
Yeah.
right, in series,
Yeah.
which they would all burst into flames by about 25 or 30 of them. But if you could get all 320 of them in series, you could power the vehicle for
A second?
maybe, I don't know, because what's the, well, let's say we're using lithium, so that's what, 1,800 milliamp hours. So yeah, it'd be a really bright flash.
So
Yeah.
please don't try this.
Please
at
don't
home.
try this at home.
Yeah.
Do not take 320 AA batteries.
Are we saying we don't use batteries to power?
I think that's what we're saying.
ROVs?
This is true.
Yeah,
What's
do
we
not-
the alternative?
What is our energy
How do
source?
we source power?
The ship,
Yeah,
Yeah.
generator on the ship.
Generator.
How does it get down there?
the 6/8 cable that goes down off the A-frame. You can see it. I think, I don't know, it's not being shown, but it's on the back of the ship. Comes up from the windshield, goes all the way down to Argus, and then through Argus goes out through a tether to Hercules. And in that 6/8 cable, there's like 3 conductors that send AC voltage down through,
And fiber
and fiber optic communications.
control of the vehicles and also sending data back, such as the video.
If you were to cut that steel cable in half, well, I mean, if you want to dissect it, it is actually quite fascinating. You have like this beautiful steel sheath on the outside. Then you have like the conductors, now like those 3 conductors. Then within those conductors, you have the fiber going through, and it's like a really intricate cross section.
Yeah, it seems like they change the design every once in a while. All these different cables we get,
Oh, yeah.
slight sheathing differences. But yeah,
Sounds like a material scientist playland.
Oh, yeah. Definitely interesting. I mean, and also just, yeah, everything that has to go into protecting the conductors, protecting the fibers. I mean, a lot of science goes into that too.
And there's 7,000 meters of that cable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does 1 foot of that cable run? Cost-wise?
oh,
What is 1 foot of the cable, sorry?
More than 320 AA batteries.
The cost of 1 foot of cable.
I am not sure.
I mean, I mean, for the whole reel, it's like hundreds of thousands, I think.
Probably.
I don't know why that's in my head, but yeah.
What'd you say it was, Rennie?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars for
Yeah,
the
that
whole
sounds about
reel.
right.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, but the question is, there are batteries on the vehicle, right?
No,
No batteries.
no batteries. Well, there's
Not a
batteries.
single battery.
Some components, the USBL has a backup battery.
Yeah, some backup batteries.
There's a battery. I don't know. Is
Also on
the
the flash,
beacon,
right?
the stills
Flashers.
camera has a battery, right?
Stills camera might have just like a DSLR battery.
Yeah,
on
like
it.
a camera
Yeah.
battery.
The digital stills?
But no, the power gets sent down through the cable.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the cable is at least $10 per foot, if not more.
All right.
And there's the winch on
That's about right.
Sat 3.
Whew.
I know how much a battery pack on one of the USBLs costs because I just looked at the invoice. More expensive than one would think.
Which one, the lithium ion or the nickel?
The lithium ions are 1,300.
Wow.
And then the nickel metal hydrides are 400.
Lead acid wasn't an option.
1,000 meters to go. Woohoo!
And then sample time. What number of sample are we on this so far?
We took through 72 this dive.
This was our 5th dive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
5th dive.
Okay.
And
It's not bad.
yeah, a typical cruise will go through somewhere between 120 and 150 samples.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually what we get up to.
Right.
So we're on pace.
It's those subsamples that get you.
Yeah, subsamples are light this cruise.
That's good.
We don't have
so many subsamples.
We don't. Well, yeah,
I do.
Beth has a lot more.
Yeah, counts every microbe.
But macrofauna and megafauna is light, and rocks don't have many subsamples. They could have had lots of subsamples if we had decided to subsample them on the ship, but
right.
And I'm pretty sure I would have gotten no sleep.
Yeah,
if that happened. Thankfully, we'll send the repository, and they will be sectioned for the parties who need them.
If this little particle comes back to the center, can we zoom in on it? Oh, I think it's gone. Oh. It's coming back. It's a valiant attempt, Jeff. Thank you.
The perfect shot of the deep blue.
Little guy was moving.
It was,
13
yeah.
meters
It kept.
a minute.
Oh, and there's an interesting little.
Oh.
Oh. Many little critters.
It's like the most expensive version of a flow cytobot to image plankton.
How does it work?
Oh, Yeah, there's an instrument called a flow cytobot that basically takes takes water samples and runs them in a very thin stream past a camera, and it takes automated images of everything that goes by it, and then you can sort those images to get a count of the types of plankton in the water. Doesn't work so well for bacteria; they just look like little blobs. Doesn't necessarily image that well, but for all kinds of other larvae and plankton, it's a
Oh, that's cool. It's like a bigger flow cytometer.
Yeah, it's based on flow cytometry, but with slightly larger and with cameras.
With cameras, very cool. How do you know? Have you used one?
I have not used one, but my colleagues at Bigelow are very familiar with them. They're cool. Experts in flow cytometry.
Do you know what the largest cell size you can fit through one of those things is?
I don't know what its maximum end is for the flow cytobots.
You can fit some large diatom chains through there, though.
Yeah, I mean, what's a big diatom cell?
Skeleton.
A millimeter?
That would be big, yeah. I don't know, we can look it up. But they can image bigger than that because they use it for like Calanus.
Yeah, the copepods.
Yeah, copepods. Flow cytobot. Let's see if it has a the internet must have heard us talking about power because like the first information that shows up about this flow cytobot is its power demand. So the standard cytobot seems that it captures particles in the size range of less than 10 to up to 150 micrometers. Well, that doesn't seem very big, so there must be something else for the Calanus.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, we're actually not actively exploring at the moment. We are ascending back to the ship. We've concluded our first dive on the Don Quixote Seamount here in Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. This is our 5th dive of this particular expedition. And as we have filled up all of our bio boxes and our sampling spaces and come to the conclusion of our dive, we are now ascending back up through the blue water. So we're not really actively looking for anything, but we're of course happy to see anything that happens to swim by in the camera here. We have the last few dives seen some activity at the surface, some larger animals kind of attracted to the lights and splashing of Hercules.
Yeah, we spotted some activity off the side of the ship around dinner time too.
We did?
Yeah, there was
tonight?
Yeah, Jess and I saw some things. A thing. Couldn't really totally identify it because it was staying down deep. But it might have been one of those
a big thing?
Sharks that have been spotted on previous dives.
Yeah, we've been seeing oceanic white-tip sharks, which are a fairly aggressive pelagic species. Also very curious. Also very opportunistic.
Steve, I've been thinking about this since you said it. How many Empire State Buildings did we go down? I don't actually know how tall the Empire State Building is.
I think it's about 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet?
A little bit more.
Okay.
Just above 1,000 feet.
All right, and our dive was roughly around 2,250 meters. So 7,000-ish feet. All right. Well, our elevator is maybe a little slower than the one in the Empire State Building.
At least on the ascent, those descents go pretty quickly.
About 5 Empire State Buildings today.
Okay. What is the tallest building in Hawaii? Do you know? No? Okay. I don't either.
According to one of our Uber drivers, it was an apartment building.
An apartment
that
building.
was just built. So
Okay.
condo building. I forget how tall he said it was. But
Yeah.
Google tells us it's going to be the first Hawaiian center, Honolulu.
Okay.
429 feet, 30 stories tall, and 30 stories tall.
Yeah. And do we know the summit of Mauna Kea or Mauna Loa? What is that above sea level?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Just trying to put in more reference points for our local audience who may not have seen the Empire State Building in person.
Elevation 13,803 feet.
Okay. So we didn't quite go that far.
Oh, we might have got to the top of Haleakala. Haleakala is 10,023 feet.
Okay. It's almost that far, but not quite. 3/4 of the way. Hello.
Mm.
Is it already shift change? No.
I've just been informed that all of the audio visual issues should have been resolved, and since I haven't seen any comments in the last 2.5 hours about visual or complaints about the video, I'm assuming that that is true. Props to the folks working around the clock to fix that.
The moon looks particularly nice outside for those who need a break.
I think I'm going to stand up for a second.
Yeah, you don't realize how long you're sitting in the chair until you get up.
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back.
I don't need any more, thank you. They know off the top of their head the length of the Nautilus?
67 meters.
Okay, so the size and high pack is
Yeah,
representative?
should be just about right. We did add on a couple of meters onto the ship, and I don't think the shape was updated.
Okay.
But yeah, 65 long. I think we added. How much did we add on the back?
6 meters?
4?
4 meters.
4 meters?
Feet, yeah.
3 meters, 4 meters?
That was
4 meters.
That's what I heard.
4 meters.
Inflection point. Ah. Touch screen. What do you normally have it at? Last hour?
Yeah.
I guess you didn't know. It was probably at a half hour. Yeah. That one's, the Hercules death is fun to watch.
We get so many questions about smells in the chat. I'm not sure how to do some kind of OET Nautilus live content around the smells of like samples and Hercules and life aboard a ship. But the question right now is, when Hercules gets back on board, is there a smell? Is there a stench? Does he get a bath?
Probably depends on where Herc has been diving. I'd imagine.
Yeah, if you're diving in, sulfide sediment, and you get some of that mud and muck on the vehicle, yeah, it'll stink. But
Or if you're at a cold
seawater,
seep with hydrocarbons that stick.
Seepy environments are pretty miserable. Yeah, if you sample anything like tube worms, Rennie knows all about tube worms.
Tube worms, they have a stench, especially when you get the tube and there's not a live worm inside of it anymore.
Oh.
Yep.
It's like a sewage hose of
And
worms.
The whale fall was always
clams
quite
too. Yeah, the whale fall had an evolution of stenches.
Yes.
The whale bones do
Yeah,
not smell good.
The first year was wretched,
Yeah.
and the second year, last year, wasn't so bad actually. I mean, they still had a little bit of an odor, but it wasn't like decomposing, decaying. It was just, it was tolerable.
Maybe not so much for smells, but the vehicles sometimes come back filled with jellyfish goo. And so vehicles definitely get a bath, but also we get very tingly fingers from some of those baths.
I did notice there was a tube of like jellyfish sting, I don't know, salve in the lab.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to think why would someone need that, but that makes sense.
And all the corals are all cnidarians, so do they all have?
No, they're not. They have the potential to sting, but most of the time we're wearing gloves, and even if you're not wearing gloves and you touch like octocorals, you typically won't feel anything.
Not even like a stickiness like an anemone? No.
Now you move into things like anemones, potentially, corallimorpharians maybe. But the thing that gets me all the time are the siphonophores. You never expect them because they're typically, like going up in the water column, Herc is constantly being bombarded by siphonophores. And they kind of dissociate, but they're still there, right? They still have all of their stinging cells all over the vehicle or all over the equipment that's on the vehicle, and touching those sometimes is way worse than corals.
For viewers who may not be as familiar with siphonophores, can you give us just like the briefest of overview?
Yeah, it's a planktonic colonial planktonic colonial gelatinous organism that stings.
We saw one last night.
Yeah.
It was very small, but cool.
Yep. very small, they could be very big. Perfect. One was recently discovered off of Western Australia as
It's huge.
yeah, enormous. Well, I think it was the longest, one of the longest animals ever discovered. Can't be right. Something
That's
like
got to
that.
be right. I mean, how could it be so big?
Yeah.
Cool.
15 meters or something. It was something like that. No, more than that even.
Yeah, I thought it was more like, much more than that. I'll look it up.
We have a navigator question here, Rennie. Are you on USPL?
Yes.
Always been curious. What are the most important things that you need to pay attention to during your work as navigator, specifically?
Sure. While we're in the van, well, let's just presume we're on the seafloor. I'm scanning all of the million screens in front of us, and we're looking out for obstacles. And so, especially when we're moving the ship, we're looking at our scanning sonars, monitoring altitude. It's kind of a positional, situational awareness with Argus and Hercules compasses and the cameras and sonars, and then we also have our acoustic positioning. All that is as far as just like ROV ops, but then we also have goals. We're not just down there for ROV ops, we're there for scientific goals. So we have a multi-beam sonar on the ship, so even if we don't have a map of a particular area that we're going to be diving on, we can produce one by mapping it right beforehand. So we're kind of turning over that data into something usable for the ROVs. And I'm monitoring what the bridge is in control of, which is the dynamic positioning system, and weather in relation to the ship holding position. And then for launches and recoveries, coordinating communication with the bridge, the deck, and the van. Make sure everyone's on the same page. Keeping the ship in a position that's favorable for the vehicles to come up safely.
So if you had to pick the most important thing you're paying attention to.
Was that the original question? I just mumbled for
It was, but it's impressive, the amount of things you have to pay attention to.
the most important thing.
The most important thing is remembering the question.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm not that good at my job.
You're doing great.
Yeah, just the general making sure that nothing touches unless we want it to. Argus shouldn't touch hers. Herc, neither of them should touch the ship.
Yes.
Unless
And they
we're
also
landing.
shouldn't touch any walls.
Shouldn't touch any walls, yeah. The walls shouldn't touch
stay
it,
on your
but
Argus
that's really not me,
pilot.
that's tectonics.
You tell me when I get too close.
That's right.
Keeping Jake in check.
Yeah. Yeah, Jess controls like, a whole vehicle, but people flanking her, we split the job. So I control the XY plane and Jake controls the Z, the up and down.
I don't know how to measure this. I'll just throw this out to the van, but who has the most screens to monitor and who has the least? I think I win for the least.
I'm going to say Jeff has the most because he's monitoring all of them.
Yeah.
I have the potential to monitor the most, yes. As far as discrete screens, Herc pilot and Argus pilot have the most discrete screens or discrete pictures in front of them.
Yeah, I think in the front row we all have to be pretty vigilant of all the screens. So everyone,
Yeah, you can see our heads just circling around and looking at all that stuff.
Oh, here, let's pop that one in so they can kind of
Screen.
get an idea. So at the moment in this dive configuration, there's what, 1, 2, 6, 9 on the right side and another 11 on the left side. So 20 images on the front wall that everybody's kind of keeping an eye on.
Is that including the nav screens? That's just the
That's just the video, and then
yeah.
you've got 3 computer screens in front of the Argus pilot. And they all
Sometimes
kind of
for the coolest one, we don't get to see very often. So I'm going to make.
What is that one?
Right now. Which one?
We have a new USBL hardware software, and it's got a really nice GUI.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's like the coolest. I can't control it right now.
Do I have that?
Oh, it shows the pinging.
Yeah, those
That's
are
cool.
the pings coming in,
Yeah.
and they turn red if they don't get a response.
Sonodyne's
Yeah, there we go.
killer.
There we
Yeah.
go.
It's great.
So yeah, this is the Sonodyne that Ryan's talking about.
Yeah, so do you have it up on channel 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the latitude and longitude of the ship and Argus and Hercules, as well as the depth of the latter 2, and hopefully never the first. Yeah.
That's cool. You can see the Marco Polo in action.
Yeah.
And is this is what's being overlaid over the multi-beam bathymetry?
Yeah, so those positions start from that software that's in control of the transceiver head that's receiving that information. And then we send that data to a couple other softwares, one that helps control the DVL, the Doppler velocity log, and to the HIPAC screen, so we have the vehicle positions. We also record them.
We've got requests for the tele. I think they mean the telestrator.
Telestrator, yeah.
Bring back the tele.
It's
I
on.
think they want you to.
If you drew on it right now, it'll show up.
It'll show.
Yeah.
Or, and maybe you can describe, Beth, why this, is fun, but also saves us, running up and having to point.
Sure. So if you were watching the dive earlier, for instance, the pilots would be moving Herc, and there'd be a feature we want to look at. It is much easier to just use an arrow to help the pilot understand what we're talking about. In other control vans I've been in, there's like some long pointy stick, which is unwieldy and dangerous to be poking at a large TV screen.
Yeah, yep. This was the older model of the telestrator.
Yeah. So this is much more precise, safe, quick, and yeah, just helps with enabling action much quicker.
I don't think that view was on channel 3, but Rennie literally had some kind of long...
It was, yeah, you could see
it was
Rennie.
Was it on channel 3?
Yeah.
It has a rubberized tip so we don't poke the screen.
Yeah, I've seen a broom handle used before. I've seen scientists bring their own,
this looks like a
pen
microphone stand
thing, laser pointers. So this works quite well. So you could just say, I want to image that little thing running away.
Yeah, the laser sometimes dissipates depending on the monitor, so we didn't have luck with that.
And
Very glad we have the telestrator.
Yeah, and if, Jeff, you were to bring up the view from the web interactions camera, so you can see that above the pilot screens, right? So there's a screen up here, which is where the telestrator marks show up, but the screen right in front of the pilot doesn't have that, so that we're not distracting the pilot if they choose not to look at those things that we're clouding up their view with. Thanks, Jeff.
Jess and Jake, how do you feel about the telestrator?
Sorry, 1 second.
What was the question? How do you feel about the telestrator?
Ooh, very nice. Very nice. I like it.
Good for sampling purposes, like determining which rock and
Which coral to image?
Yeah, which coral? Yeah, and imaging for positioning the vehicle, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're saying it's more effective than that little one over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also clears up the awkward moment when the pilot doesn't understand which they were talking about, and then the scientists are too shy to say they wanted the other one.
Yeah, I would say 95% of the words that comes out of Steve's mouth, I have no idea.
You'll have to retake my boot camp.
Yep.
Coral boot camp.
Maybe the third time will be the charm.
Yeah.
Do you have flashcards?
Flashcards? No, I don't have flashcards.
But you could maybe get some if you send him $20.
To a P.O. box.
I have a Jeopardy game that I used to run, like coral identification.
Really?
Jeopardy.
Oh, your mic is going in and out.
Yeah.
It's probably too far away from my face.
Okay.
Yeah, I could run a Jeopardy game, traditional rules, corals, mostly media, photos. Yeah, if we have any downtime.
All right. I don't think I'll be a very good contestant, but I'll play.
Oh, it's good to know. I'm going to study up.
I'm just going to learn the name of one coral and give that for every answer.
Yeah.
I think Granny will be all over this game. He just went to go get Mark, but
He's been training.
no. Do we have sections for this, as in like front row team? Like how are we gonna partition it, or is it individual based?
Maybe.
Probably should be a mix of like a science party member and a
It's not
ROV
a bad
team
idea,
member.
actually, is to have team trivia nights. It's always some of my favorite at-sea activities.
We can do some Olelo Hawaii vocab trivia. See how much we're learning.
I definitely need to go to coral boot camp. Hardcore.
Jeff, what are we looking at on channels 1 and 2?
The deep blue sea. If we're looking at.
Are they both pointed in the same direction?
Yes. No, actually they're not. They're pointed opposite directions. If you look at channel 3, there's the aft camera of Herc, and it is looking at the aft, well, it's the aft camera, and it's looking at the aft light of Argus, and there's Argus's view down the tether towards Hercules. So they're actually pointed away from each other as they come up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to look at the big monitors up front, let's go there and there, just kind of below the two big monitors, you'll see that, if I got really creative, you could do this with the telestrator, but we're not going to do that. There's two monitors that, that one and the one to the right, that are actually looking at each other, so the two pilots can kind of keep an eye as they come up together. And I would defer to them as far as how they actually are ascending.
Yeah, Jake, what are the physics of this ascent? Where is the pull coming from?
Well, we have the two vehicles. Hercules is thrusting upwards with its thrusters, but then also driving forward a bit so that we stay separated. And the tether is kind of taut. And then Argus is being pulled up by the winch and the 6/8 cable. And we try to match Argus to the ascent rate of Hercules, because we can only go as fast as Hercules is going to come up. So yeah, that's about it. Sometimes we add a little lateral thrust to Hercules because that tends to speed things up a bit. It's kind of a hydrodynamic problem, but there's some stuff going on with the thrusters. When they're thrusting down, they're pushing down into the bio boxes. And so when you lateral to, I think, starboard, it increases the rate of ascent by pushing the fluid kind of off to the side, off the bio box.
Interesting. So you're periodically doing a lateral thrust, or that's constant?
Right now it's constant. We tend to lock in our thrust levels. So right now we're fully vertical, going up, or thrusting down, and then our lateral thrusters are about 30% to port. Actually, I said starboard, but it's port. Jess corrected me. And then just a tad forward at about 15 to 20% thrusters.
Very cool, thanks. Oh, Jeff, a viewer is calling. They've said, don't you mean the shark camera for these cameras now?
Yes, sometimes it is.
Because I think that yesterday a shark was viewed in between these.
Yeah, I think Dan was telling me that they saw a shark try to bite the tether.
Ha! Pull your teeth out.
Yeah. He said that was his #1 question. You know, kids always asked him, "Hey,
we get that question a lot. Yeah.
Has a shark ever attacked her?"
Would a shark ever
Apparently
bite the tether? Yeah.
Have you all seen the photo of one of the autonomous imagers that was bitten by a shark?
Nope.
No.
Let me see if I can find it. It's a really great video. It's you know, one of these AUVs that was actually its purpose, to go in areas of known shark behavior to try to identify if there were sharks there. And
oh, is this over on the northeast coast?
Yeah.
Yes. And initially they couldn't get the sharks to bite it, so they had to keep making it look more and more like seal. Is that right?
I don't think they ever wanted it to be bitten.
Oh, they didn't?
They just wanted to image the sharks.
Oh, okay.
They didn't want it to be a shark bait.
Oh, I see. There was something else where they were actually trying to measure the impact of the shark bite, but they wouldn't actually bite it.
Mm. Yeah, there it is, Remus shark cam. So Remus is a type of AUV. You can find, this was work done out of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. So if you search for those online, you'll find some short video clips of
yeah, so if you're just tuning
hunter
in.
becoming the hunted. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, cool, yeah. If you missed this particular dive, no worries. We will be back in the water in roughly 5 hours. Am I reading that right? Yeah, just over 5 hours. We're going to be doing a small transition to a different ridge on this seamount, and we'll be launching the ROVs approximately around 4 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. I believe that'll be a relatively short dive, but do we have a preview at all on what that dive might look like?
I have not seen a dive plan. I believe the intent is to go over to the western side of this same mount and come up a ridge over there.
Yeah, and this seamount being the Don Quixote seamount. Where is all this stuff coming from? I think the stuff is the snow?
Yeah, so we're at about 370 so meters, and so we're getting closer to the surface, so more sea life than what we had down below us, and the plankton. So yeah, we're just ascending through a little front of plankton.
And are most of these plankton probably kind of suspended in the water column, and they look like they're falling because we're rising, I imagine?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, Beth just showed the video. You should go look it up. It is The Hunter and the Hunted from Rima Shark Cam.
Yeah, this was came out in 2014, and was really just mind-blowing. It still is. I'm sure there's other footage now too, but.
All right, so we are ascending. Are we still at 15 meters a minute?
Yeah, something like that. And our current depth is 340.
Quick math, how many more minutes do we have to rise?
Is that for the audience or for me? Because we have a calculator.
And it's 22.6.
Yep.
Yes. As our viewer noted, the 300-meter call to deck will happen soon. We will lose some of our crew here in the van. It's been a nice watch, crew.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is our first deep water ascent as a team. I feel extra bonded now going through this with you.
Yeah, you're right. We haven't been the final closing shift yet. Okay. Let's see. Just got the sit rep for today. Yeah, we're going to be going to the northwestern end of Dunk.